Spurge here, and in this video we're going to break down the new Held Air and Dry 2s. So for those of you out there that have been using the Held Air and Dry Unos, I've had a pair for years, there's really not much here outside of a style change. So if you've got a pair that's holding up pretty well, I wouldn't be rushing out to replace them. However, if you've never used these, this is an extremely popular glove for people that are looking for a 2-in-1 option. When they're taking a road trip or they're just commuting back and forth, they don't want to have to use or take with them 2 pairs of gloves. Now this is going to come in at the $330 price point, but really what you're getting here is 2 pairs of gloves in one. That's the whole popularity around the Air and Dry. You have one chamber that's going to be a GORE-TEX chamber, which is guaranteed for life waterproof. And then the outside chamber, which is going to be an air chamber, which helps you with ventilation in the summer months, as well as gives you great tactical feedback for your hands. So just very quickly before we get into it, what I mean by this is there's actually 2 entry points. So there's a breezy entry point, and then there's a dry entry point. And you can actually see that on the different tabs. And then you have 2 different pockets that you can put your hand into. So again, you can go with waterproof or you can go with breezy. The other note here that I'm going to make right before we jump into sizing, we talked about price coming in around the $330 price point. That is a slight increase of around $30 over the previous generation. That being said, no matter what the price, none of you out there residing in the state of California can buy these. And that's because there is soft, supple kangaroo skin in the palm. The state won't let you do it. So this is a glove really aimed if you are looking at having it ordered and shipped to your house, the other 49 states in America. That being said, let's talk about sizing. Sizes will range from a 7 to 12. There are short and tall lengths available. Again, really what they're going for is shorter fingers, longer fingers in their short and tall sizing. The one note that I will make is I used the size chart for Held. I measured my palm at 9.5 inches, and that would have put me somewhere between a 9 and a 10. I'm actually wearing these quite comfortably in an 11. So I would definitely recommend sizing up one full size based on where you measure your hand. And if you're in between sizes, maybe even going up a size and a half. So just keep that in mind if you are using Held size chart. So we talked a minute ago about the materials that you're going to see in here. The one note that I want to throw out is that if you are looking within Held's line, a lot of these same materials can be found in the Sambia 2-in-1, which is a short cuff version of this glove. Personally, after using them both back to back, I still think that the Held Air and Dry 2s is a more comfortable, more refined glove. But if you're curious for a more affordable option of this, maybe without the full cuff on this, you can check out the Sambias. So when we're talking about those materials, like I said, kangaroo in the palm, perforated kangaroo, very soft, very comfortable. Honestly, when you're thinking about tactile feedback and really being able to feel the levers, there's nothing that really beats kangaroo. When you're looking at the leather on the back, this is where you're getting into a goat skin, and then there is also going to be stretched textile throughout. So we talked about the 2 main pockets. You also have a dual closure system, really refined. One of my issues with the Sambia glove is that the closure system on that isn't nearly refined the way that we're seeing it on the Held Air and Dry 2s. I like the fact that even with a long cuff on this, even with reinforced padding and protection at the ulna, the cuff isn't big, it isn't bulky. You have a little bit of perforation down the back of it with the textile material as well as with the leather to help with airflow. You're going to have a stretched neoprene at the back behind the knuckle on this. So just the overall sleekness of the glove when you're talking about the cuff is extremely important. Now, the one thing I'll note here is that at the back of the hand, especially even when you're in the breezy pocket, you can feel the bulk of that GORE-TEX liner on the back. So this is really going to be a special case. This is for people that don't want to carry 2 separate gloves, because even in the warmest months of the year, you're going to have the airflow in the back of your hand is going to be blocked. You can see all the ventilation here. Really, that ventilation is not going to push through that GORE-TEX liner. It will help with sweat evaporating or moisture evaporating, but really what you're looking at from a breezy standpoint is all the perforation that you're going to see in the palm, in the fourchettes, and then down the back of the hand. The other piece to note here is that you're going to have a reinforced knuckle. I like the knuckle on this better than the knuckle on the Sambia. It's a little bit sleeker, a little bit nicer in its design. You're also getting that extra bit of ventilation scoop to the back of the fingers. But again, keep in mind that this really is just going to that GORE-TEX liner. It's the little perforation that you'll see in the fourchettes that helps with the ventilation truly there. I like the fact that you've got this really stout covered outseam to the pinky. You've also got super fabric on the pinky as well as your ring finger just to help with slide. Super fabric across the entire palm. What I really like about the super fabric, unlike just a regular kind of palm slider, is that this really does help to slip in the event of a crash, whereas if you just had a full leather palm, sometimes that can catch. So the super fabric at the back of the hand as well as the palm on this really does help that glove slide and glide in the event of a crash. We talked about that reinforcement on the outseam, coverage all the way down from the pinky down to where it meets the super fabric at the palm. You're going to have touch tech at the index as well as the thumb on this. The reinforced leather that you're going to see working its way through the little indentation in between your index finger and your thumb and then carrying down, that's going to be done in a goat skin, and that's going to be a textured goat. But you're going to notice, again, that perforation works its way all the way through the palm and then back down the hand. So really, for those of you out there that have been fans of the held air and dries in the past, this is just carrying on the legacy of one of their most popular gloves. For those of you that have never tried a 2-in-1 glove, really the story here is that you get 2 gloves for the price of 1, but the compromise is that it is going to be a little bit bulkier than what you would get if you just went with a true ventilated glove, and it's going to be something that, you know, takes a little bit of getting used to as far as getting in and out of both pockets. It's not going to be as sophisticated as you would see with a true genuine waterproof only pair of gloves when we're looking at something that has Gore Grip, for example, where the GORE-TEX is actually attached throughout the entire liner of the glove. This is only going to be attached to the fingertips, so just keep that in mind. So there's a little bit of compromise, but for those of you out there that just want one pair of gloves to do it all, we've really not seen much better than the held air and dry 2 for keeping you dry in the rain as well as breezy in the warmer weather out there. The one thing to note here too, and we see this confused sometimes with people, is that there's no thermal with this. So you get a little bit of wind blocking in the GORE-TEX shell or the GORE-TEX pocket for this, but ultimately this isn't going to be something that's going to really be anything further than early fall or late spring from a thermal standpoint, but that also depends on where you're riding as well. So for those of you out there that like the idea of a 2-chamber glove, maybe you've never seen one before and this is your first time, really innovative, interesting product from Held. Only other thing that I would say for you is that if you have other questions, you can always read other rider reviews by clicking that little link on your desktop or mobile device. You can always reach out to one of our customer service reps as well, and you can talk through what gloves are right for you, your riding style, as well as your budget. I want to thank you for joining us for this look at the Held Air and Dry 2 gloves. I'm Spurge. Enjoy the ride.